This summary is about the book Read People Like a Book by Patrick King. In this book, you will learn about the patterns of human behavior, how to decode body language and facial expressions, the motivation drivers behind decisions, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and the defense mechanisms people use to protect their egos. Now, let's explore these ideas in detail. Every human being has a pattern of thinking, understanding, and behaving. If we learn to recognize this pattern, understanding and predicting anyone's intentions, emotions, and decisions can become easy. This pattern is influenced by their past experiences, emotional needs, and psychological conditions. This means that the person someone is today is the result of the experiences they had in their past life. If we observe someone's behavior carefully and understand why they are acting that way, we can even guess their future moves. Let's suppose you have a friend who always gets angry quickly at every little thing. You notice that whenever someone points out a mistake of his, he gets defensive and starts arguing. If you try to understand his personality, it might be possible that this behavior is linked to his past life. Perhaps in childhood, he was scolded a lot, or he was made to feel that he is never right. Therefore, now whenever someone finds a fault in him, his brain immediately reacts with anger to protect him. If you understand this pattern, you can know in advance that the next time his mistake is pointed out, his reaction will be explosive. Similarly, if you know a person who is always ready to help everyone, even if it causes trouble for themselves, this could mean that they see their own value in the happiness of others. It is possible that they have endured something in their life where they only received love and belonging when they prioritized others' needs over their own. Therefore, it has now become their habit to help others even while forgetting themselves. If you recognize this pattern, you can understand why they are repeatedly doing this, and you can also know that they will continue to behave this way in the future. Another way to understand people's behavior is to look at the difference between their words and their actions. Many times, people say something, but their true intention is something else. Suppose a colleague of yours always says that he doesn't care about others' opinions, but whenever someone criticizes him, he remains upset for weeks. This means that his words and his true thoughts do not match. What he means to say is that he wants to show himself as if he doesn't care, but in reality, others' opinions affect him deeply. If you understand this pattern, you can know beforehand that the next time his mistake is pointed out, his reaction will be explosive. While analyzing people's behavior, we also have to see how they react in different situations. For example, a person who seems very funny and open with their friends but becomes extremely quiet and serious in a work environment might mean that they are very good at molding themselves according to their environment. However, if a person behaves the same way everywhere, like remaining very serious all the time or joking all the time, it means that their behavior is linked to their inner personality, not just the environment. Many times, people adopt a fake personality to impress others. But if you observe their behavior carefully, you can recognize their real personality. Suppose a person always tries to show that they are very confident, but when they are asked a difficult question, they become uncomfortable and try to change the topic. This means that their confidence might be a show. If you learn to recognize these kinds of patterns, you can know who is real and who is just pretending. Our behavioral patterns are also linked to our psychological needs. Some people feel the need to always be proven right. Therefore, they never admit their mistakes. Some people need attention all the time. Therefore, they repeatedly do something that makes people pay attention to them. Some people like control. Therefore, they try to boss over everything. If you understand which need is the most important for a person, you can also guess how they will behave. Now, think.
If you know a person who always puts their points forward first in a group, this shows their need to get the most attention. Now, if someone else starts speaking more than them, there is a possibility that they will feel uncomfortable and try to pull everyone's attention back to themselves in some way. If you recognize this pattern, you will not have difficulty understanding how they will react in the future. Another way to understand behavioral patterns is to analyze people's decisions. Whenever someone makes a big decision, it does not depend only on the immediate situation, but their past experiences, their fears, and their desires also play a big role in it. Suppose a person rejects a new opportunity every time they get one because they feel there is a risk of failure. It is possible that this fear is linked to their past life where they took a big risk and faced failure. Therefore, now they want to avoid every risk. If you recognize such a pattern, you can predict in advance that this person will avoid taking risks in the future as well. Similarly, if a person always grabs every opportunity immediately and takes decisions without thinking, this can also be a pattern. It is possible that they learned in their life that grabbing an opportunity immediately is the key to success. Therefore, they are always ready to adopt new opportunities without thinking much. Understanding people's behavioral patterns not only helps us know about them, but we can also improve our relationships. If you understand the reasons behind the behavior of a friend, partner, or colleague, you can have more patience towards them and build better coordination with them. Finally, it is important to understand that no human being remains the same. People change with time, but their change also happens in a pattern. If you recognize this pattern of change as well, you can understand in which direction a person is moving in their life and what their next step might be. So, if you want to understand people in a better way, do not just go by their words, but look at their behavior carefully. Understand their past experiences, their desires, their fears, and their needs. When you do this, you will not only learn to read people, but will also become an expert in predicting their future decisions. Most of us believe that to understand someone, we should only pay attention to their words.
But the truth is that a person's body language and facial expressions have more power than words. Many times people say something, but their true meaning is reflected in their expressions. If we learn to read someone's body language and facial expressions correctly, we can understand their true emotions, even if they are saying something else. Suppose you ask your friend if he is okay, and he replies, "Yes, I am fine." But if his voice is a bit low, his eyes are looking down, and his shoulders are slightly slumped, would it mean that he is really fine? Probably not. His words are saying something else, but his body is telling a different story. This is the reason why, instead of relying only on words, we should also look carefully at people's expressions and body language. Facial expressions are the most effective signals because a person's true emotions appear quickly on the face. When someone is happy, their eyes shine, there is a slight smile on their lips, and the face looks open. On the other hand, when someone is sad, there is heaviness in their eyes. Eyebrows are slightly drooped, and lips look tight. Fear, anger, surprise, or worry, every emotion has a different expression. And if we start understanding this, we can get an idea of anyone's state of mind. Now, suppose a colleague in your office always says that he has no problem with anyone, but whenever a specific person enters the room, his body language changes. His face becomes a bit hard, his eyes avoid contact, and his hands unknowingly turn into fists. It will not take long for you to understand from this that he actually has some problem with that person, even if he denies it in words. Other signals of body language include a person's postures and gestures. For example, when a person is taking an interest in a conversation, their body leans forward, their eyes remain focused on the person or the topic, and their eyebrows are slightly raised. But if someone is getting bored, their back leans backward, eyes start wandering here and there, and their hands might be resting somewhere, which shows that they are just passing time. Now imagine if you were talking to someone and they are constantly tapping their feet, looking at their watch, or checking their phone repeatedly. What would this mean? This could be a direct signal that the person is restless or not taking much interest in the conversation. Such small signals can tell us what the person in front is actually feeling. Many times people try to hide their emotions, but some signal or another comes out from their body. For example, when someone lies, they usually avoid making eye contact, repeatedly touch their nose or face, or a slight change comes in their voice. If you start catching these signals, you can recognize when someone is telling the truth and when they are not. However, it is also important to understand that drawing a conclusion by looking at just one signal would not be correct. Someone's eyes are looking down. This does not mean that they are definitely sad. It is possible that they are just tired. Someone has crossed their arms. This does not mean that they are angry with you. It is possible that they are feeling cold. Therefore, we should always keep the context in mind. If a person remains in a defensive posture constantly during a conversation, then we have to see if this is part of their nature or if they are doing this in a specific situation. Apart from this, while reading body language, we should look for a group of signals or clusters. Drawing a conclusion by seeing just one signal is not right. For example, if a person is standing with their arms crossed, it does not mean they are rude or angry, but if along with that, their eyebrows are tensed, lips are a bit tight, and the body is leaning slightly backward, then these signals together can show that the person is actually angry about something or feeling defensive. Now, let's take another example. Suppose a person is talking to you and smiling in between, but that happiness is not reflecting in their eyes. Their smile is limited only to their lips, eyes are a bit tired, and they are repeatedly touching their neck. This could mean that they are smiling for show, but inside they are feeling upset or uncomfortable. This art of reading people is very beneficial not only in personal relationships, but also in professional life. Suppose you are in a meeting and your boss says that he liked your project report, but instead of happiness on his face, a slight irritation is visible, and his hands are lying lifelessly on the table. This could mean that he is just fulfilling a formality, but is not actually satisfied with the report. If you catch this signal, you can improve the report in time and leave a better impression in the future. Another big advantage of reading body language and facial expressions is that it helps us test someone's honesty. Suppose a person is telling you that they made no mistake, but while speaking, there is hesitation in their voice. They are rolling their eyes repeatedly, and the fingers of their hands are being rubbed together. These signals can tell that they are not speaking the complete truth. Reading body language is an art, and it comes only by practicing slowly. If you start paying attention to people's gestures and facial expressions in everyday life, you will slowly start understanding what signals indicate what. Finally, it is important to understand that every human is different, and the best way to read someone's body language is to first notice their normal habits. If a person usually stays very energetic, but appears sitting quietly one day, this can be a signal that something is wrong. Similarly, if a person who always stays quiet suddenly starts showing a lot of gestures, this can also be unusual. When you start paying attention to these small things, you will start getting an idea of what people are truly feeling, even if they are saying something else. This will not only increase your ability to understand, but you will also be able to communicate with others in a much better and effective way. Every human being does whatever they do for some reason or another. Someone works hard because they want success. Someone saves money because they are worried about the future. Someone helps someone because it gives them happiness. And someone lies because they want to avoid some trouble. If we understand what gives a person happiness and what they are afraid of, we can guess how they will behave in the future.
In reality, every human being has two major motivation drivers: gaining pleasure and avoiding pain. That is, people do what either makes them feel good or saves them from some suffering.
If you look at someone's behavior carefully, you will start understanding what things they are drawn towards and what things they run away from. This understanding is very important because when you understand someone's motivation, you can also guess what decisions they will take next. Suppose there are two colleagues in your office. One always works harder, takes extra work, and tries to learn from every mistake. The other always wants to do the minimum work, avoids taking risks, and runs away from any new responsibility. Why is there a big difference in the behavior of these two? The first person gets happiness from success. Perhaps they want a promotion, or they want to create their identity through their work. They feel that working harder will give them the happiness they want. On the other hand, the second person operates out of fear of failure. They do not want to make any mistakes. They want to avoid criticism, and therefore they do not take any step that might cause them difficulty later. If you understand this motivation, you can also estimate how their behavior will be when they are given a new project. The first person will take it with enthusiasm, while the second might make an excuse or try to take minimum responsibility. Now think that you give a suggestion to a friend that they should start going to the gym. If they are motivated by the motivation of happiness, they might think that going to the gym will make their fitness good, they will feel good, and their personality will shine. If they are motivated by the motivation of avoiding pain, they will think that by going to the gym, they can avoid diseases. They won't have the problem of obesity, and they will stay away from health-related troubles in the future. Both people might go to the gym, but their reasons will be different. One will see happiness in it, and the other a way to avoid danger. Similarly, if a person always gets angry quickly, it is important to understand that their anger is also linked to some motivation. It might be possible that in childhood they repeatedly had to prove their point, and now they try to prove themselves right in every argument so that they don't have to face that struggle again. Or it might be possible that they are very worried about their self-respect, and whenever they feel someone is diminishing their respect, they react with anger. If you understand the reason behind their anger, you can also understand in which situations they will get angry and how they can be calmed down. People's fears also affect their behavior. Some people are very cautious about their image in society because they have a fear of rejection. Such people always ensure that they wear the right clothes, speak the right words, and avoid any social mistake. On the other hand, some people are very careful about money because they have a fear of poverty. Such people always focus on savings, avoid spending too much, and never put money on unnecessary things. If you understand what a person's fears are, you can also predict their decisions. Suppose you have a friend who is always very cautious in relationships. He does not trust anyone quickly, does not open up much, and thinks a lot before getting into any new relationship. It is possible that he has been badly broken in an old relationship, and now he does not want to bear that pain again. Therefore, he weighs everything before starting any relationship so that he does not go through suffering again. If you understand that his behavior is to avoid pain, you can also understand what needs to be done to make him trust. Similarly, some people pay a lot of attention to show off. They always buy expensive things, put their good pictures on social media, and show their success in an exaggerated way. If you look at their motivation, there is a game of pleasure and pain in this too. It is possible that they get happiness from praise and recognition, so they build their lifestyle in such a way that people appreciate them. Or it is possible that they have a fear that if they look ordinary, people will underestimate them. To avoid this fear, they always try to show their status as high. Now think, if you are dealing with a customer, wouldn't it be important to know what influences them? If a customer buys that thing which will give them happiness, then you have to tell them how much your product will improve their life. But if a customer just wants to avoid loss, then you have to explain to them what loss they might face if they didn't buy this product. Look at children themselves.
When a child studies, they do it either with the thought that they will get good marks and will be praised, or because if they fail, they will get punished. That is, their motivation is either pleasure or protection from pain. If parents understand which motivation their child is more inspired by, they can motivate them to study in the right way. Our decisions also run on this motivation. A person might take a new job because they will get more money in it, pleasure, or because they are fed up with their old job, avoidance of pain. A person might marry because they need a partner, happiness, or because they are afraid of loneliness, avoidance of pain. If you understand what is driving someone's life, the desire for happiness or the avoidance of pain, you can guess their next steps. You can see how they will behave in which situation, what decisions they will take, and what things they will be most influenced by. When you start understanding people at this level, your own ability to communicate and build relationships becomes very strong. Every human being has different needs, but if looked at carefully, these needs run in a set order. Some people's biggest worry is earning money and fulfilling their basic needs, while some people take more interest in love and relationships. At the same time, some people place their career, identity, and self-respect at the top. Understanding at which level a person is helps us know what things they will be most inspired by and how their behavior will be like. Psychologist Abraham Maslow created a sequence of needs to explain this better, which is called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. In this, human needs are divided into 5 levels. The needs at the bottom are the most basic, and as a person fulfills these needs, they move towards the next level. If you recognize where a person stands on this ladder, you can also understand what they will be most influenced by and how they will make decisions in the future. The first level is of physiological needs. Things like food, water, sleep, and basic comfort come in this. If a person's basic needs are not being met, their entire focus will remain on these things. For example, if a person is unemployed and has no money, their biggest worry will be how to fulfill their daily needs. They will not be concerned about things like relationships or self-respect at this time, because their brain will first ensure that they can survive. Now think if a person is struggling for food and you tell them that they should focus on their self-development, will they take it seriously? Probably not, because their priority right now is just to satisfy their hunger. This is the reason why when we talk to someone, we should first see what level their needs are at. If a person is engaged in fulfilling basic needs, it is important to understand their current situation before talking about any big inspiration. The second level is of safety needs. Things like security, protection from danger, and simple psychological safety come in this. When a person's basic needs are met, then it becomes important for them to feel secure. At this level, people will focus on things like getting a good job, making sure their family has a good environment, and feeling safe in their neighborhood. They will ensure that there is no danger to their health, safety, or belongings. If a person is struggling to make these things secure, they will be hesitant to take big risks. They will weigh every decision carefully and try to avoid situations that could put them in trouble.
Things like job stability, a home, health, and future security come in this. If a person's physical needs are met, now they want stability in their life. For example, if a person is working a job, but they constantly have a fear of losing the job, their worry goes beyond money to security. They will take decisions that give them more stability and security, even if they don't adopt bigger opportunities. Now, if you see a person who feels very secure, you will notice that they will be more comfortable taking risks. But if a person is living in fear all the time, like they feel their job can go anytime or their home is not safe, their behavior will be different. They will keep caution in their decisions, avoid change, and will not take interest in anything that threatens their stability. The third level is of social needs, love, and belonging. When a person fulfills their basic and safety needs, they now search for relationships, friendship, and connection with society. They start feeling that just money and security are not enough. They also need someone's company. At this level, people start giving more importance to relationships and try to make their place in society. Think, if a person is feeling lonely and you advise them to move forward in their career, they will not be very excited. Their priority right now is not a career, but the feeling of someone's company. This is the reason why when a person is at this level, their priorities start revolving around their friends, family, and relationships. Now, if you see a person who always likes to spend time with people, it becomes easy to understand that they are at this level. They do not like to be alone, and their needs are linked to things that make them feel belonging. If they cannot fulfill the needs of this level, they will start feeling sad or uncomfortable. The fourth level is of self-esteem needs. When a person becomes satisfied with relationships and social connection, now they start feeling the need for recognition and respect. They now want people to appreciate them, accept their success, and see them as an important person. This is the reason why some people take an interest in showing their achievements on social media, because they get respect and recognition from it. At this level, people move forward in their career by working harder, learning new skills, and trying to prove their capability. If a person is at this level, the best way to motivate them would be to make them realize that they are valuable and their achievements are appreciated. If you see a person who always wants praise for their work, it could mean that they are at the level of self-esteem needs. They want to hear that they did well because that is their inspiration. The last and highest level is of self-actualization. When a person attains respect and recognition in their life, now they start trying to make themselves even better. They do not just run after money, relationships, or recognition, but try to live their life for a bigger purpose. Such people want to use their capabilities fully and want to contribute something new to society. They start taking an interest in things like art, science, innovation, social service, and self-development. Now think, if a person is at this level and you talk to them only about earning money, it will not inspire them much because their priorities have now changed. They have started thinking not just about their own well-being, but about society and the world. If you understand where a person stands on this ladder of Maslow's needs, you can guess what things they will be most influenced by. If someone's needs are basic, they need security and stability. If they are in search of relationships, they need belonging. If they want recognition, they need appreciation. And if they are at the level of self-actualization, they need something that can connect their life to a deeper purpose. When you start using this model in your everyday life, it becomes easy for you to understand people. You get to know who will be motivated by what, who will take what kind of decisions, and who can be motivated in what way. This not only strengthens your relationships, but you can also build a deeper understanding with people. Every human has an ego inside them, which helps them feel good about themselves and maintain self-respect. Whenever something hurts our self-respect or makes us feel insecure, our brain starts adopting some ways to protect us from that pain. These ways are called defense mechanisms. They try to keep us mentally and emotionally safe, but many times we ourselves do not understand that we are using them. If we can identify how a person is protecting their ego, we can understand their true emotions and fears. Think, if a person repeatedly ignores their mistakes and always blames others, what does this mean? It is possible that they are avoiding accepting their mistakes because it might hurt their self-respect. They cannot even think that they can make a mistake. Therefore, their brain shows them an easy path, blaming others. This is a defense mechanism called projection, in which a person starts seeing their own weaknesses in others. Now suppose a person is very angry, but tries to show themselves as calm and composed. Whenever someone tells them that they are very short-tempered, they immediately reply, "I am not short-tempered, you yourself are very irritable." This is also an example of projection, because instead of accepting their negative emotion, they are putting it on others. If you understand this pattern, you can recognize that their real fear is that they are afraid of considering themselves an angry person. Another common defense mechanism is denial. In this, the person refuses to accept a truth no matter how clear it is. Suppose a person spends too much and has drowned in debt, but whenever someone says something to them about this, they reply, "I have no problem. I have everything under control." This is denial. They are ignoring the truth instead of seeing it because accepting the truth might be difficult for their ego.
Many times, people resort to rationalization, giving logic. This means they make excuses for their mistakes so that they don't feel bad. Suppose a person fails an exam and says, "It doesn't matter to me. Anyway, this exam was useless." In reality, it does matter to them, but if they accept it, they will feel disappointment. Therefore, they start convincing themselves that the exam had no importance. In this way, they try to protect their ego. Another interesting defense mechanism is repression. In this, a person suppresses their painful experiences or emotions in their subconscious mind so that they don't have to deal with them. Suppose a child was scolded a lot in childhood, but when they grow up, they don't even remember these things from their childhood. This happens because their brain suppresses these bitter memories so deep that they don't come to the surface. But these suppressed emotions can still affect their behavior. It is possible that they are very afraid of criticism or try to prove themselves all the time. If we can understand what things a person is suppressing in their mind, we can also know what real fears or pains they are struggling with. Regression, acting like a child, is also a common defense mechanism. In this, a person starts behaving like their old childhood self to feel safe in a stressful situation. Sometimes people start crying suddenly when they are very upset, or start adopting a way they adopted in childhood. For example, if a person is under a lot of pressure at the office, and starts getting angry at every little thing, or becomes irritable, it is possible that they are using regression. Their brain is taking them to that state of childhood when they used to get attention and support through their anger. Many times people resort to displacement, taking out emotions somewhere else. In this, a person does not take out their true emotions on the person they are upset with, but takes it out on someone else. Suppose a person comes home after getting scolded by their boss at the office, but they start taking out that anger on their family or friends. Their real anger is at the boss, but because they cannot dare to take out anger on the boss, their brain gives them an easy option, taking out anger on a weak or safe person. Some people use sublimation, turning emotions into a creative or productive activity, which is a positive defense mechanism. In this, a person turns their negative emotions into a creative or productive activity. For example, a person might be very short-tempered, but if they put this anger into sports, exercise, or art, they can express it in a good way. Many artists, writers, and athletes use this mechanism by turning their emotions into creative works. In this book, we learned that understanding people isn't magic. It's about observing patterns. By recognizing behavior driven by past experiences, decoding the true meaning behind body language, identifying whether someone is motivated by pleasure or pain, and spotting the defense mechanisms they use to protect their ego, you can truly read people like a book. These ideas can help you navigate relationships and professional interactions with much greater empathy and foresight. If you apply even one of these lessons in your life, you will start noticing a real change.